I saw a report in the Wall Street Journal that was saying that China's Gen Z is very lazy. So they're very similar to the American Gen Z. And the quote was that they don't want to work hard. They play too many video games. Cell phone use is up dramatically. And Jack Ma, so obviously Jack Ma, creator of the Ant Group, which owns Alibaba, so he preached the 996 model. Do you know what that is?
9 hours a day. I don't know.
Yes. 9 to 9, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week, working model. And I think it's kind of funny because you think about that 9 to 9, that's 12 hours. 12 six times over is what? 72? Am I right?
Yep.
12 times 5 is 60 extra day. Yeah, 72. So you're working 72 hours a week. So you're working almost twice as much as Americans, working a 40-hour work week. And all of that just to play second fiddle to America. Isn't that interesting? I find that funny. And it just goes to show that like communist societies, they don't breed innovation and they don't uplift societal wealth and living standards, and without the, you know, the potential to succeed and the potential to kind of climb the socioeconomic ladder, there's no incentive to develop and get better. So like you could work 70 hours a week, but in a communist society, it's going to be a futile effort, and there's no point because all the other people around you are just going to do less, and they're going to go, "Oh, this guy's doing all the work. Great! Like, what? We're going to all have the same standard of living. So why the fuck would you try? And that's like the whole thing is it doesn't matter how much you work. It also, it's all about smart work, not hard work. And sometimes lazy people, when you think about it, if lazy people a lot of times will be very intelligent and they're very prone to being procrastinators. We look at like the works of Leonardo da Vinci. Like da Vinci was a genius. Like he had designs for helicopters hundreds of years ago, but he like never followed up on a bunch of his designs. Like he just had these designs and he was like, yeah, I guess this is pretty cool or whatever. And then he just left it as is. And he was like a notorious procrastinator, but he also was very bright. So that's the whole thing is that he actually worked really hard, but he would kind of procrastinate on a lot of his ideas. So he never actually saw a bunch of them. They never saw the light of day because he was just kind of like procrastinating. Oh, I'll get to that at some point, and they just never did. So it's just this whole thing where like lazier people will find like an innovative way to get things done. And even though he was lazy, he's still widely regarded as one of the smartest men in the history and like clearly a bright innovator and designer. So, I mean, at the end of the day, do you think like his societal impact would matter more if he wasn't a procrastinator? I mean, possibly, but he's still like very widely well known considering he's been dead for like 500 years. So I'd say that's a pretty solid W.
Da Vinci and all of his inventions. You say he was a procrastinator, but he's like one of the greatest inventors of all time. He invented the parachute, right? He invented a diving suit. He invented the armored car, which we use to transport things to banks. Like most of a lot of important things that are in today's society were invented by Da Vinci. So he couldn't have been that much of a procrastinator.
Yeah, but apparently he was a procrastinator because he had hundreds of designs that were unfinished, and like he just never got around to finishing them up, or like he didn't care to finish them up. So it's like he clearly knew he was fucking bright, and he just didn't give a shit about finishing up some of the things that he was working on. But I just find it funny because it really just shows like freedom and capitalism are clearly like the best. That's like the best combination of a system, because it clearly like capitalism, the way it's set up is like if you figure out a way to add value to people's lives, like that's how you make money. Like Jeff Bezos, being able to order something online and getting it the next day or the day after, all from the convenience of your home at the same price as going to the store, like that in itself is inherently valuable because even if you do pay a slight premium, it doesn't matter because the time that you're saving is immensely more valuable than that like tiny bit of money more. So, like that's where something like Amazon Prime comes in because it's so good that you can have shit delivered to you in a day or two. And really, it's like, you pay the $120 or whatever it is every year. And if you order like one thing that weighs a lot, it'll get to you so quickly, and you're like, oh, this is fucking awesome. And it really is such a great thing. So, uh, just like this whole idea that like you could build a company or like build a product, and then people will go out and buy it, and it's something that benefits society, and then in return you're able to like get a very well established and comfortable financial situation where then you could really kind of get into some cool shit where like maybe you're helping other people out in the form of like venture capital, or you're mentoring people, or you know you're just like helping other entrepreneurs like create systems, or like maybe you're helping with their like thought process and product testing, and it's just like that's how society should, like all societies should be. They should be open to like the sharing of ideas and innovation, and it just makes for a more productive society. And you really like can't thrive when you have these totalitarian regimes in place, kind of running the show, controlling production, controlling output, because there's no incentive to succeed within those systems. So it just goes to show that working 72 hours a week under a repressive regime is not going to do much, because like China is not going to beat the US in terms of innovation. What they do right sometimes is like they just figure out a way to steal our fucking tech. That's where they attempt to beat us, and even then they steal the tech, and it's still not as good as like what we can create. And I would say even technologically, in terms of some of the companies founded here, we're easily 5 or 10 years fucking ahead of them, because we're the ones creating all the shit. The only shot they have at getting some of this stuff is just through, pure IP theft. So
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. You have to have a society and a system set up where people reap the rewards and reap the benefits of their labor. And China doesn't have that. They're very big on IP theft. They probably probably one of the biggest IP thieves in the whole entire world. They're like modern day pirates. I think of them kind of like the Vikings, going around stealing intellectual property. And people really underestimate the value that entrepreneurs bring to society. People put a high value on like doctors, medical professionals, and lawyers, but the greatest people in society have been and will always be entrepreneurs. And I was reading this story about a famous entrepreneur. He went to jail. He started many different companies like Retrofin and such. Martin Shirley, I think you've heard of him. We talked about him a couple of times on the show. And he started this company called Drug Like, and he has the domain, and he started the website. It's www.druglike.com. So recently, after he got out of prison, he was banned from the pharmaceutical industry. So this company, Drug Like, what it is it's a SaaS company, or software as a service company. And think of it like, since this is a finance podcast, right? Think of it like Bloomberg, where Bloomberg provides all this finance data and all this, finance news. They aggregate different news networks. They provide up to date data to all of these hedge funds and all these portfolio managers and such. And he's doing this for the science community. So what the science community uses is they use this platform called Schrodinger. And Schrodinger is basically a computational platform where you could solve computational physics problems on to basically invent drugs. And it's a very
wait, hang on. I Are you talking about Schrodinger, the company, the computational chemistry company,
yes,
where you could synthesize molecules and like back test them, and it uses AI and machine learning to
correct.
predict possible outcomes of successful drugs for drug discovery? Yeah, Schrodinger is incredible. They're the largest shareholder is Bill Gates. He owns like 10%, over 10% of the company, and their results are very promising. Like I actually was talking about them today with someone. Their business model kind of reminds me of like Pfizer. I don't want to like pump their stock too much, but like their business model. Sorry to cut you off, but like their business model is very similar to Pfizer in that um, they have like two arms that like the company consists of, and the one arm is like the software development and the licensing of that software. But it's so genius because in licensing out that software, they actually negotiate equity in these companies.
Correct.
So it's
Yes, the
very
IP.
interesting,
Yeah.
which I love about that. I love it because it's like you make the software, you go through it, you work out all the kinks in house, you master the software. So now you could use it in house for drug discovery, which is good because it's a good proof of concept when you want to pitch this to other companies. That's number one. And then number two is you're getting equity in other companies for licensing this shit out. So you'll have not only recurring revenue, but when they're using your system, you're getting a cut of the pie. It's fucking genius. Their business model is phenomenal. They have a ton of cash. They have very little debt.
Yeah.
And it's a company that I personally, I remember I told you about them a while back. They're a company that, like, I truly believe, like, in terms of market cap right now, they're under 2.5 billion. I think they could easily 10 to 20x. Like, it's very possible. It very much could happen. Like, there's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah. So they do about 100 million in revenue. They kind of like, as you were saying there, this computational physics program, and they sell to like different companies like Pfizer, Merck, and such, so that they can you know look for different drugs and discover different medicines. But they take any drug that they help discover, they take 10% of the profits from that drug. So they get the 100 million just for people using their software, and then they get 10% of the IP for any drug that they help discover. So yeah, they're a very valuable platform. So what Trelly's doing is he's taking this Schrodinger platform and he's getting rid of the large upfront fee where like it's only becomes accessible to these expensive companies. So he's not going to charge people up front, and he's just going to collect a basically he's going to collect on the intellectual property side. So he's basically he's how there's a decentralized finance movement. He's basically doing this for the science community. He's doing decentralized science, and he's making it more readily accessible to more people. And he's able to do that by basically collecting the profits from the intellectual property instead of making it a gated community where only these large companies can have the program. And I think this is a good idea because you're decentralizing um, you're decentralizing science. You're making it more accessible to everybody, and a lot of drugs could probably be discovered through the vast knowledge of the whole entire population instead of it being gated off and having a gatekeeper in this equation.
Yeah, and that's really that's a big movement, and it's definitely a great business model too. But Schrodinger, like, if you look at the price right now, it's like $34 a share. Like, you really can't go wrong, like, at all. It's so fucking like dirt cheap right now. I do think the valuation is still a little high, and the price per share could come down a little bit. But I think for the upside, the value is there for sure, tremendously there. I love how much cash they have on their books. I love that they have no debt. Like, it's a great company. And actually, throughout this whole like COVID situation, right? And you saw, and now we're seeing like a giant sell off in markets. But we even when we saw this in March, like, Bill Gates is the largest shareholder. He hasn't sold a single fucking share of Schrodinger, and he actually was buying it throughout like the COVID downturn. That was one of his big disclosures, is that he actually added to the Schrodinger position. So he's clearly very bullish, and I think it's going to be a great company, headquartered out of New York. They do a lot of big business. They, like you said, they got deals with Pfizer, Merck. I think
Well, Schrodinger is already a big business, but
well, not well, relatively speaking, not really, because their market cap is only like 2.5 billion right now. So that's like kind of nothing in the grand scheme of things, and especially in that space when you have like $100 million companies, and you see a company like
I
oh my
mean
god, what's the one that kind of blew up
it's
during
a SaaS
COVID?
business though. How many? There's not that many SaaS businesses over 5 billion. There's PayPal. There's like 4 or 5 SaaS businesses that are worth over 5 billion. Kind
Well,
of.
well, Schro-
We're
well,
looking at it kind
Schrodinger
of as like a healthcare
is,
business. It's not really a healthcare business. It's kind of a SaaS.
but it is, because they're negotiating equity in like the drug discovery of like that other companies do, like, by using their software. That's what's genius about it, is that it's not only a software company, but they're positioning themselves to be like a pharmaceutical holding company as well. That's what's genius about it is they're effectively putting themselves in a position where they own equity in other companies. So it really almost is like a Pfizer, right? Because if they own 10% of Takena and Takena, creates some crazy drug that cures leukemia or
They're
like
not taking any of the
very
risk up
well.
front. They're just providing the platform, which is good because there's a lot of risk involved in doing drug
Yeah.
discovery.
Well,
They're letting
yeah, but
Pfizer and all these people
they're
take the
smart.
risk.
They're smart. Yeah, but if you look at like their rev split, the the bulk of their revenue is coming. I agree with you. The bulk of their revenue is coming from that software as a service model, um, licensing arrangement they have. But they are doing in-house drug discovery, right? Because the whole thing is like they're building the platform for other people to use. But if they perfect it in-house and they have a more refined model of it, that's amazing. Because again, it's only going to get better. It's all based off of machine learning and AI. So as they start synthesizing more molecules and the AI becomes much more aware of some of the inputs and just really just going through molecules and like synthesizing them, you're able to synthesize billions of molecules in a span that a normal company would go through like 1,000 or 2,000. So you're literally talking about a situation where it's only going to get better as years and years go on, to the point where eventually, with all of the knowledge that they're going to accrue and that this AI is going to accrue, it's going to get to a point where it'll be near flawless in like curing things or like treating like effective treatments for ailments. Like it's only going to get better because the limitations of human beings is that there's only like so much knowledge you could possess in one thing, but AI can literally know every single fucking thing. Like that's what's going to be crazy about it. That's and even once like even with the machine learning aspect too, like this company is going to be big. I was thinking of I said, oh, the company that blew up during COVID, Moderna. Like, there's no way you could sit here and tell me Moderna is justified in having that market cap that they have right now. Like, their market cap's a little fucking crazy. Let me just look very quickly, just out of curiosity. Yeah, like a 70, like this is the PE is very low at a 5.7, but like a $75 billion market cap, like that's kind of bullshit. Like all they did, they blew up because of the COVID vaccine. That was it. Like they were nothing before that. The stock was trading at like 15 to $20 a share, and then during COVID, it just went like up like a fucking rocket and shot up 2,100%, and peaking somewhere at that 500 per share range, and then that was it. Like then it kind of faded away. But there's no way that's a $75 billion company. Like there's no way.
Well,
Also, I
no, no,
saw
no.
this. What, you think
No, I
Moderna
was
is
just gonna
definitely?
say Moderna and all these companies, they're being valued like the vaccine is going to be a year in and year out, recurring revenue stream. I look at the vaccine as more of a one-time revenue stream, and they're looking at it as it's going to be going on for as an ongoing basis. And I just don't see that to be the case. But the interesting thing with the Schrodinger company, I think it's going to be pretty big too. They're discovering a lot of different drugs when it comes into the cancer realm, and yeah, I think they're really going to be big in this intellectual property play. But the interesting thing is about what Trelly's doing and going up and competing against Schrodinger is, say you have a computer, right? I have a computer. We all have computers. Say I have a Bitcoin miner or a GPU or a CPU, right? I
Yep.
can give my computational ability to his company, and if my computational ability helps discover a drug, then I can share in the profits that drug like gets on the intellectual property side. So through selling my computational ability to Shirley's company, drug like, I can get recurring revenue on the back end. So it's like an interesting way to make money for people who sell their computational ability to him. So it's kind of like, a group effort of, accumulating this computational ability and sharing the profits with all the people in the system.
That whole space is so fascinating. Did you see that Global Blood Therapeutics is up like 90% in the last 5 days because now there's rumors that Pfizer is going to buy them out? Pretty interesting. I feel like these rumors that come out though, it's all bullshit because whenever you look at and you hear rumors, like there's no way you have too many people signing NDAs and it would be like lawsuits galore if this got out, right? So that's got to be bullshit, right? Like, oh, there's a leaked report and now the stock's up like 100%. Like there's no way. They have a very good sickle cell treatment. I think I remember hearing Shkreli talk about that in like 2016, 2017. The stock's up like 125% or some shit in the last 5 years, which obviously is crazy, but 90% of that is these buyout rumors.
Well, yeah, you saw that this week with this company. I think it was something Hong Kong Limited or something like that. It was another one of these like short squeezes. It went up like fucking 2,700% or something like that. You see that a lot with these companies. There's massive pump, and there's really no reason for there to be a pump. But you don't really want to be caught on shorting it or on the other side because you can get squeezed right out of your position and go bankrupt. So it's a dangerous game to play. And there's a lot of it's not worth what it's trading at, but the market can be irrational more longer than you can stay solvent. So you got to be very careful playing. When you play those kinds of games.
Yeah, and I love just talking about like some of these pharmaceutical companies or really just like scientific companies. I'm a big science guy. Love reading about stuff like this, and I've been very interested in stuff like this my whole life. But yeah, Schrodinger is a stock that I would feel very comfortable if someone was like, if you had to put $10,000 into like one company that you think could like 10x within the next like 10 or 15 years, what would it be and why? Schrodinger is definitely on that very short list. I think another company that I'd put on that list is CRISPR as well. The ticker is CRSP.
Eh.
I think that genome editing is like very possible for it to catch on and become more mainstream in terms of treating people who would potentially be born with ailments that we could otherwise repair and fix. But I think the biggest issue with that is possible government regulation and government oversight, because I think that usually what happens is the technology kind of, but really just in situations in general, things kind of get out of hand and then the government steps in and overcorrects. So I think that's probably their biggest risk is the government stepping in and saying like, well, this is unethical, you can't do this, and then that's sort of shifting like societal's opinion of it. But science is very odd, like in a sense that scientists will go out and do things just because they can, not necessarily that they should or shouldn't. Like they'll just go out and do it. So, like you look at the Large Hadron Collider, like they're doing, I don't know, like I spoke about this a little bit on here, but like the Large Hadron Collider is just like it's the world's largest particle accelerator experiment. So in layman's terms, it's like they're basically trying to recreate the start of the universe, the Big Bang as we know it. So it's a particle accelerator, so they're just crashing molecules and particles into each other in hopes of recreating this simulation. But like if you actually do successfully manage to recreate the start of like the universe in like a controlled environment, it could very easily get out of hand. And I mean, you really could just create like a black hole and then we're all fucked and we're dead. So like, there's no like upside in doing it. It's like just because you can do it or you think you could do it doesn't mean you should, right? So I think that's where we kind of have to get to as a society. But I think that's a main concern with CRISPR is like just government stepping in and science kind of getting out of hand. I don't think I really see much of a risk with that with Schrodinger because these are companies that are excuse me, heavily driven by profit motives and making money and bolstering their bottom line. So really, they're going to try to use this drug discovery software, and they're going to try to use that to put themselves in a position where they have a clear competitive advantage. They get a patent from the FDA, and then they're pretty much insured to make ridiculous amounts of money and essentially print money for about 10 or 15 years with little to no competition by using this proprietary software. So I think that's going to be a big thing that's really going to fucking help them. But I'm very bullish on Schrodinger. I can't, sing the praises enough. I mean, it's very rare that you see a company that's in like a pretty high like mega growth stage where they're positioning themselves to own equity in the the companies that they're licensing their software out to, and they're very cash rich with very little debt obligations, and they could very easily pay off their debt tomorrow if they felt like it. So I love that. I like companies that are nimble and they can pivot like that. And it's exceptionally rare to see. And it's also exceptionally rare to see not only growth companies with a ton of cash, but growth companies with a ton of cash that, like I said, are negotiating equity in other companies because they're really positioning themselves to be like a holding company as well. So it's genius. It's like if Salesforce started fucking licensing out their software and taking equity for it instead of taking money or taking a mix of money and equity. Like that's what they should be doing because how many businesses did Salesforce make more productive or Oracle, right? Like Oracle is more of like the back end kind of part of Salesforce. Like when you look at Salesforce as like a CRM software, like Oracle is a little bit more comprehensive. It's more of like database analytics and planning. So like Oracle could very easily do that too. Or how about like AWS, like
How about
Amazon Web
Shopify?
Services? Oh, bro.
Look at
Oh
the
my
businesses
God,
that Shopify
Shopify,
supports. Shopify could become a mega
bro.
house if they did that.
Yeah, well, they're dumb. That's not the thing. It's like they're fucking dumb. Like they should be taking like equity in some of the largest stores that are powered by Shopify. You know, they should be taking equity. You know, that's a big thing. But they don't want to. A lot of companies don't want to take equity because there inherently is more risk because a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. But at the same time, if you do a pretty decent rev split and you have a good risk management department and risk analysis, like you could actually maximize the amount of money that you're going to make. So if I'm Shopify, I mean, that's a really good point. Like Shopify, that was a phenomenal point because they really, they're a pretty good company, but the problem is, like you said, like they like not taking equity. That's just foolish. Like just take equity in the bozos. They're doing all the legwork. You sit back, they use your proprietary software, and that's it. And they have their little e-commerce store, and you take equity. You get like the top 1,000 people, top 2,000 people. Boom, that might be like another billion a year in revenue right there. I mean, it's very simple. The 80/20 rule is definitely a real thing. So the top stores will probably account for like 80% of that revenue you earn through like equity and stuff like that. So it's definitely an exciting time for science, and it's an exciting time for crypto as well. There's a lot of innovations happening in crypto. We see a lot of the financial companies moving into crypto. We see Fidelity, we see Blackstone, we see BlackRock moving into crypto. So I've been very excited to see what's going on there, and hopefully that front picks up a little bit more because now it looks like we're in that crypto bear market, that crypto winter. So
Yeah, before we move into BlackRock and what they're doing in the crypto realm, just wanted to make one more point on what's going on in science. Did you see that? I don't know if we talked about this before, but there was like a fake research on Alzheimer's. They had these fake pictures being put out, and that really presented to me the question of how they do in how these like computer companies like HP and all these other companies, they have bug bounty programs, and I was wondering what your thoughts were when it came to presenting rewards or presenting these bounties for people to disprove prior medical research, and why don't they have that in the science community, basically, where you would get money to disprove research that's fake or the research that isn't true, because it seems like people are just accepting this research as true, and there's not enough peer studies being done to question the validity of this research.
yeah, that's really interesting. I think that you said that bounty program, that's something that should be in there 100%. That's dope. If you could prove that someone's wrong and you could do it empirically and in a way that it's like up to no subjectivity whatsoever, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't be rewarded for that. That's dope.
Yeah, the only downside I could see is that if you create a financial incentive, you would have like some hedge funds and some other people trying to attack the research to basically make a profit on the short sale, and maybe the research would be valid, but they would disprove something that was valid. But I think
I
overall, having a program like that would be beneficial.
I think it's a decent idea, but I could definitely see that being used as like a political motive to kind of sink a company if you know that the founder, or you know that like some of the larger shareholders of that company lean one way politically versus maybe another way that like I can see political adversaries kind of using that against them as leverage to lower the to kind of go after a company as like a proxy to go after the owners and some of the larger shareholders of that company, you know.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. But yeah, back to BlackRock. They just opened up a program. They're partnering with Coinbase and Coinbase Prime to basically offer crypto to institutional investors, and they have this program called Aladdin, where they're going to be providing end-to-end management investment platform, and they're going to be providing direct access to crypto. And they're first going to be starting with Bitcoin, and then they're going to be expanding to Ethereum and a few other coins. But this institutional client base platform called Aladdin is going to be big because it's going to expand um, it's going to expand institutional adoption, and it's going to provide basically a custody management program, a finance program, a staking program, and the infrastructure and reporting requirements needed for the audit team to basically for institutional investors to get involved. And this leading institutional program that's being formed by BlackRock is going to have the proper security measurements, proper insurance protocols, and compliance needed for institutional investors to get involved. So this is going to be very, very big. And we might see, in the not too distant future, once this Aladdin program starts to take off, we might see more hedge funds, more PMs, more sovereign wealth funds, asset allocators, and maybe some treasuries from, corporate America. We might see a lot of institutions uh, using this platform and adopting it. And I think this is a very logical partnership. I think BlackRock always seems to be at the forefront of innovation, and they're at the forefront right here as well.
Yeah, and speaking about the being on the forefront of innovation, so obviously Google for like a short while they owned Boston Dynamics, and Boston Dynamics is this company that built these robots, right? That they were going to use for like military supplying and contracting, and I guess to an extent in warfare. So this guy, if you remember, there was this story that came out years ago. He had two hard drives. One of them was wiped clean, and one of them had Bitcoin on it. He chucked the one that he thought had nothing on it, and then all of a sudden it ends up in a landfill, and he's stuck like sitting around trying to get permits to excavate this landfill in England so that he could try to get the Bitcoin back, right? So the whole time he's just been lobbying like this local township so that he could go in there and dig through the landfill and hopefully try to find this hard drive. So now he just spent $150,000, $75,000 each, on two of these Boston Dynamic robots to help him excavate the landfill. So I thought it was very interesting because he actually set up like a legit business model. He went to like venture capital firms and he basically said like, "Hey, I'll split the money with you." So it's $200 million in Bitcoin, roughly $200 million in Bitcoin that are on this hard drive. 8,000 Bitcoins is the exact number, and he's trying to recover it. So he went to these VC funds. They're going to get like the majority of the money, right? Because the whole thing is that he can't get the township and the city to sign off on excavating the landfill without like big money behind him, I guess in a way of like kind of bribing them to let him do it, like to let him dig. Because otherwise he'll never get the permits by himself. So they're getting like almost 100 million or whatever the bulk of the majority of the money is, and he's going to get like 50 million. So it remains to be seen. Like we're gonna have to see what happens. But he also said he's gonna pay out like six. I think he said he'll pay out like $100 or $200 to like each of the townspeople. So it's actually a pretty good idea. And he also says that he thinks that they could take, you know, in like rummaging through this landfill, they could take a lot of the debris and they could repurpose it into like different biological uses or uh, like composting and kind of like do some productive stuff out of it. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in that front. But I always thought that story was really cool because it's just about a guy who, I mean, it's fine. It fucking sucks. Like I don't know if I'd be able to sleep at night if I was him, but at least it's like a fascinating story because he had 8,000 bitcoins. He threw it away. He had it on a hard drive. Like, first of all, if you have a hard drive, right, and you have Bitcoin on there, and you're like, oh, this could be like a big thing or whatever. Like, he was clearly bullish on Bitcoin. He's holding 8,000 coins, right? Like, but why would you ever buy two hard drives that look exactly the same? Like, that's pretty fucking dumb. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. That's rule number one. You never have two hard drives out of the same color. How fucking dumb. That's very silly. That's number one. Number two, you literally, before you go to throw something out, you plug the fucking hard drive into your computer and you can see what's on there. You just go to File Explorer, you click on the hard drive, and you look at all the files saved and their properties. And I'm pretty sure if you're a computer guy, you'd know right away which is, where the Bitcoin are, which one has Bitcoin. So
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this story has been going on for years. They always say they're going to search the landfill and they're going to find the Bitcoin. I think, to be honest with you, I think that Bitcoin's long gone. I don't think anybody's going to find that Bitcoin. It seems like this is a never ending story. But yeah, that Boston Dynamics robot, that's an interesting point that could help them find the Bitcoin. What I don't understand is why they had to lobby the government to get access to the landfill. If I lost 8,000 Bitcoin, you bet I'm just gonna fucking sneak in there and start looking. I'm not gonna wait, for the government to get lobbied.
yeah, what are they gonna do if you just pull up with a squad? Like, what if you just outnumber everyone? Like, what are they gonna do? Let's say the town has like 200 cops or 100 cops or whatever, right? Law enforcement. Like, what are they gonna do if you just show up with like 300 people? You're all fucking digging, and they're all in on it, and everyone's like, all right, if one of us finds it, we're gonna split the money, and then that's it. Like, what do you do? I mean, it's just crazy. The other thing too is that here's the craziest thing too. Let's say this guy gets cleared to dig and he's digging very aggressively and he gets to a point where he does find it. It's an older hard drive. So in these older hard drives, they have a disk in them. If the disk is damaged, which it very well could because it's in a fucking landfill, right? It could have been crushed by one of the garbage pieces of machinery. It could have been ran over by a vehicle. If he could dig through this entire landfill, find the exact hard drive, but if that disk is broken, he's dead in the water. Dead in the water. And there's like such like a high chance of that happening because it's a fucking hard drive. It's literally a piece of plastic with a bunch of metal components and metallic components inside of it. So the odds of it being crushed just from shit being piled on top of it or something running over it or animals in the landfill fucking biting it and chewing it apart. It's fucked. Like I would be blown away if this guy even recovers it, and then even more blown away if he somehow recovers it and the disk within the hard drive is intact. I would be fucking blown. I would be like mind fucked.
Yeah, he's definitely not
Yeah,
not
think of all
recovering that
like the
hard drive. I think
raccoons and think
it's a
about all
fool's
the
errand
raccoons
to
and
even think that he's.
oh, sorry, go ahead. My bad. I didn't know you. I thought you were done
No,
talking.
I was
Sorry
just
about
gonna
that.
say it's a fool's errand to even think that he has a chance of even achieving that hard drive. Yeah, the raccoons you said, the briss on it, there's a lot of fires usually in landfills as well. It could get burnt. There could be water, the rain, snow, the elements. That hard drive, is long destroyed. I think it's a wasted and false hope to basically keep looking for this hard drive. I think it's time to move on. You made a mistake. You're not finding the hard drive. Um, you might regret it. You might think back of, but you can't change what has been done. The hard drive is gone. You're not getting the Bitcoin. And that's the fact of life. Focus on something more productive. Maybe start a company and, try and get rich another way because you're going to spend your whole life keeping looking for this hard drive and looking for the Bitcoin and you're not going to get anywhere. You're going to be poor. It's a fool's errand. Move on and get on with your life.
I think that's why he has the VC money behind him, and he's willing to take so much less relative to like the amount of the Bitcoin he actually owned, right? Like we just established that it's worth about 200 million. He's willing to take a quarter of it. So he's basically giving all the money out to the VC fund. So he's letting them put all the money up for excavating, and he's going to keep like a 20-25% of that money if they do recover it. So I don't know. I think it's just like he pitched a VC fund on putting up like 10 or 11 million in excavating fees, and then kind of like paying to get a permit or whatever, and kind of paying off the local government. He'll get a quarter of it. They get the majority of the money. And I think he kind of looks at it as like, if I get 20-25 million, great, my life's changed forever. It's not really going to matter if I have 20 or 25 million or 200 million. I'm still going to be chilling. I don't have to work anymore. So he probably looks at it from that perspective. But if this guy's spending any more of his own personal money into this endeavor, I think he's a fucking idiot. I think he's a moron because, like I said, there are so many things at play. You brought up the rain. Bro, it rains like a motherfucker in England. It rains there like you would not believe. So the odds of this thing being destroyed or there being some type of corrosion, right? Because you have a lot of metallic, there's a lot of metallic properties in hard drives and computers and stuff like that. So the odds of even something being corroded or rusted is exorbitantly high. If I don't know about the location of the city or township, but if it's by, the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, he's shit out of luck. He's gonna face saltwater corrosion too. I mean, like this happens with cars, right? Like when you go to buy a car, and particularly a used car, it's a common trope that you never buy a Californian car because it's right by the water. Like if you buy a car that's from LA or it's from San Diego or from one of these coastal Southern California cities, the chassis of the car fucking rots and it rusts and everything because of the air. The concentration of salt in the air is immense, and it just destroys the underbody and frame of the car. And it's the same thing with a hard drive. Like a hard drive, the same shit would happen, regardless if it was, coated in hard plastic or some type of hard metal or tungsten or whatever. It doesn't fucking matter. Like it's eventually gonna rust. The internal components are gonna go bad, and then that's gonna be it. And then you'll have no Bitcoin. And then you have the mice chewing everything. You have probably cats ripping shit apart, raccoons shitting everywhere. Like it's over. It's done. Let the VC funds pay for all of it and don't spend anything out of pocket. And hopefully they're willing to foot the bill and maybe you get 10-15% of it, but you should just be happy with that because you're not putting up your own money.
I'll tell you this, 15% of zero is still zero. I think, he's got to grow up and get on with the program. And I think he should be focusing on different endeavors. Like I kind of, value and I appreciate actual entrepreneurs, like, the founder of Roomba. And he just recently sold his company to Amazon for $1.7 billion. Now, you might ask, like, why is Amazon buying iRobot? Now, if you look at Amazon's history, right, they had this robot called Astro. And, this robot, nobody really bought this robot. And what Amazon was planning to do with this robot was basically map out the inside of your home. Now, Amazon owns Ring doorbells, so they have the outside of your home mapped out.
Yep.
And their plan was to have this Astro robot to map out the inside of your home. And nobody really bought this robot. It wasn't that popular and such. So if they bought Roomba, because a lot of people have Roomba, it's this like vacuum. It automatically vacuums your house at different times or different set times and cleans up the debris in your house. And Amazon's reason for buying this robot is that they have scale. They can promote the robot on their platform. It was a huge seller. They can promote it over other cleaning robots. And basically, I think the key feature here of why Amazon bought it is to basically have the mapping capabilities to map out the inside of your home and, see what's going on. Because if they have the inside of your home mapped out, it can be very beneficial to sell different merchandise to that consumer because you know what they have, what they don't have, what they're missing, because you have the coordinates and you have the whole inside and outside of the person's home mapped out. So you can see, do they need yard work? What do they need inside? And then advertise to that specific individual using the mapped out coordinates or the mapped out AI that you have. And
Yeah, it's definitely like this weird direction that Amazon's been going in where they're just trying to go like the Facebook route and gather as much data on their clients as possible, which I don't necessarily have a problem with, but I think people need to be more cognizant and aware. They also have the Alexa. I mean, they're literally listening to your conversations. So that's another way that they're collecting consumer data, right? Because it's constantly, right? That's just how it is.
right, yeah, they have the Alexa, they're collecting your conversational data. They have the Roomba, they're collecting your mapped out coordinates. And Roomba, they also have uh mops. They have like robotic mops, and they have a couple other robotic. I think they have a robotic actually lawnmower too, where it automatically mows your lawn, which I should, that should be interesting. I think a lot of lawn mowing companies should look into that to save on labor cost. But yeah, Roomba, I think Roomba is a pretty good company, and it provides Amazon with a lot of different data points, and I think it's a pretty good acquisition along with the One Horizon acquisition that they did recently too. It seems like Amazon is picking up on a lot of acquisitions in this down market and collecting more and more data on consumers, as you said. And
Yeah, the
yeah,
one thing with the one sorry to cut you off, but the one thing with Roomba that I feel is kind of silly is like I actually have some friends that have these fucking things, and my issue with it is that it's not perfect. Like it gets a good amount of the room cleaned, and it will like vacuum shit. Like if you're in a kitchen, it's a pretty good thing to have, right? Because it'll just go around the kitchen. But if you're in like a larger room with a lot of furniture, the thing fucking sucks. Like you're better off with like a Dyson vacuum, and you're done in like 5 minutes. Like who gives a shit? You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like the time saving is not that good. If you live in like a little fucking shit fucking shack little motherfucking house or some shit, it's a good thing. Or like you have a small ass room with no furniture, like an office or some shit, or like I said, a kitchen where you just got a table and then that's kind of and some fucking chairs. Like the room is good, but if you got like, if you put the shit in your living room, you got a fucking couch, you've got a wall unit, you've got a fucking desk or like whatever, tables and whatever fucking I don't know nightstands or some shit. Like the room is gonna suck. Like it's not gonna be good. So
yeah, that's a crucial point that you just mentioned. I actually have a Roomba, and it's always getting stuck in one like the recliner chairs that I have. It's also getting stuck like in the couch, and it always seems sometimes it makes mistakes and it like falls down the set of stairs. I don't know how it does that. It's supposed to stop when it sees stairs, but it falls down stairs.
because it's fucking suicidal. That's why he wants to take his own life because you're like clean my room, fucker, or clean my house, and it doesn't want to work for a living. It wants to enjoy its life. Maybe it's a liberal. Maybe it's a member of anti r/anti work. I said anti work r/anti work, where like it's just people who don't want to work for a living and they just want to party and do nothing.
Yeah, it definitely could use some improvement, but I think the overall objective of the company is like pretty valuable. It's cutting back on labor. You don't have to clean as much. You don't have to like mow your lawn. Uh, General objective of the company is pretty good, but it does need a lot of research and a lot of basically resources going into it. And I think that's what Amazon's going to do because Roomba was, it was bleeding money. It lost, I think recently reported like a loss of like 37 cents a share. And I think Amazon has more resources, develop this project, and it's probably going to, the future generations of the Roomba and other robots that they begin to develop are probably going to be better, much better than they are now. I wonder if they like bought Roomba to get some of the engineers and artificial intelligence teams to members to work on like some of their warehouse objectives. Because I know they were looking into producing robots for their warehouse to lower the time that it takes to get items and such. So I wonder if it's to get if their objective is to basically get the mapping coordinates or to basically reassign the team to cut back on cost in their warehouse to develop robots and such, or maybe it's both.
I think it's probably both. I definitely think it's probably both. I think another thing to be considered as well, particularly with Roomba, is like we're going to see some type of cross sectional integration where you're going to be able to say to Alexa, "I don't have one of those stupid Alexa things. I don't pay to bug my house. Okay, we don't do that." But so I'm only fucking around though, of course. But so like there's going to be cross sectional integration where like you'll have an Alexa and you'll be like, "Hey Alexa, like." Vacuum, Jimmy's room, and it'll be like, okay, and it'll like turn on the Roomba like from the Alexa. There's going to be some type of cross sectional integration,
Yeah,
maybe for like future iterations or through like some type of update. That's definitely
they
going to.
they they did mention that in a press release that they were going to have Alexa do that. Exactly what you just said. I read that somewhere in a press release that they're going to say like
Yeah,
you
I
could
didn't
say.
even I didn't read or see the press release, but it's just I have a very I think I have like a pretty good thought process for like a lot of the technical aspect of things. So it's kind of like that's just what I would do if I bought a company. I'd be like, all right, well, we need some type of cross sectional integration. It's like if Apple bought a drone company, like if Apple was like, we're buying DJI, right? And they made, you would think like, oh, they're gonna make some type of like drone integration for an iPhone where like you press a button, the fucking drone starts up or whatever. Or you say, hey Siri, turn on the fucking, turn on Jimmy's drone, and it'll like take flight, and then it opens up like a mapping thing where you can control it. Like that just to me seems like second nature. And it also seems like ease of use for the majority of consumers that are using the product.
Yeah, have you heard? Is Apple actually looking into a drone? It's just that they had a made up scenario that they were looking to purchase.
That's what I've been I mean drones at this point there's too much regulation now. There was like a 2 or 3 year gap that Apple had where they really I felt like they could have printed money with some of the innovation that they could have had with drones. Like they literally could have bought DJI, integrated them. They could have bought DJI for under $1 billion a couple of years ago. They didn't do it, and now that window's kind of gone. Like drones are just tightly regulated. In certain municipalities, they're actually like training birds to take them out on site. Um, their police are being trained to shoot some of them down on site, and when they fly over restricted airspaces, you need licensing to own them. So the barrier to entry is like way too crazy for drones now. So drones are just like dead. They're like dead in the water. They're not going to be. There's not going to be any sort of innovation with drones. Maybe militarily, some of them will be used, but for in residential areas and some other areas, it's not gonna be a thing. So sadly, but Apple could have did that. They could have bought DJI. They could have just released them, and they could have said. They also could have just took like a DJI Mavic, which was like their premier line of drones, slapped an Apple logo on it, painted it in like that Apple white, and the thing would have fucking sold out like crazy. Everyone would have wanted that Apple drone, or I think the Apple car will happen at some point. I don't think it's going to be with BMW anymore. That was the initial rumor that I heard for the longest time is that it was going to be the BMW i6, which is the little like smart car looking fucking BMW, which I think would have been a good Apple car. But I think Apple is building out like the software integration for the cars first. We've already seen that with Apple CarPlay. I think that will go with the Apple car. So I think the main thing is building out integrated software for cars. And then realistically, if they're very smart, they should partner with someone. They probably wouldn't partner with Tesla. Like that would just not happen. I think that they would probably partner. I think maybe Mercedes Benz or BM. Like the BMW rumors were, they seemed very true for a while, but I don't think they're going to go with BMW. I could definitely see them working with like Volkswagen or like Mercedes Benz or some company like that. Maybe Lexus. I don't know. It just depends, It just depends. But I think probably like Mercedes Benz or Volkswagen is probably most likely in that like Apple car scenario. That's my guess.
I kind of see Apple just going off on their own. I don't think they necessarily need a partner. I don't think they're going to go the Amazon route in how they partnered with Rivian. I think Apple's probably just going to make their own car. It seems like they take a lot of stuff in house, and they don't. I don't think they have too many partnerships, and I think they want to control the software of the car. Or Apple's very big on their software in the iOS, and if you look at um, their data points that they have, the only you're in your car and you're in your house, most of the time. So it would make sense that they would expand into the car market, and so they have more data points on you. But yeah, I don't think they're going to partner with BMW or traditional car manufacturer. I think they're probably going to develop the car on their own. Or I could see them partnering with, like, say, a Google and like the like a Waymo kind of program. Like I could see like two companies like that partnering together, going after the traditional car market.
Yeah, the cult of Apple is very funny. Some might say it's almost like a church, and churches are very funny. You see, there's like a lot of these mega churches that have been kind of popping up out of nowhere. They've been kind of blowing up, and it's always interesting to see. And now it looks like there are churches getting into the metaverse, from what you were telling me. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. It's about 2 years too late. They should have been doing this during COVID. We've seen a lot of churches go bankrupt. They were closed for months on end. They weren't getting donations. They were on the verge of bankruptcy, and now they're coming up with the idea of offering church services in the metaverse. 2 years later, I think they should. I don't know what the hell they were thinking for 2 years. Did they fall asleep behind the wheel? You were mentioning this thing about a fraudulent preacher, and
Yes.
what was going on with that.
All right, so I'll give you the rundown on this. So there's this preacher, right? And you know how there are these like mega church pastors, and they're like, I want to fly in my private jet because Jesus Christ said that's how I got to travel around. I'm too good to fly in coach. Jesus Christ wants me to fly in first class. So there's like there's like a whole bunch of shills and like these fucking charlatans, kind of like taking advantage of people that are like very susceptible to religion and some of this other shit. And there's this bishop, and he's a bishop, right? And I saw this in the news, and I'm like, what the fuck? There's no way this is real. So there's this bishop, and he's kind of like you. He likes his luxury. Remember luxury? He likes his luxury goods. He likes his like little Gucci and Louis Vuitton and all this bullshit. So this guy, there's a video of him. I'm gonna play it, and we're gonna react to it in real time here. This is the first time we're doing this, and it's real funny because the headline is "Flashy NYC Bishop Robbed of $1 million in Jewelry Heist," and they say the Gucci loving bishop was robbed during a live streamed service at his prayer on Sunday. So let's see this video. Let's react. Let's get your reaction in real time. All right. So this will be good. So here we go. I've got the video right here. Let me know when you see my screen. All right. So here we go. Do you hear it?
Yep.
You're about to go through. Yo. All right. All right. Yo, all right.
This looks like some Scientology shit.
No, look. All right. Oh my God. All right, you guys gotta look this up. It's on the New York Post. Just look up Gucci loving bishop robbed. New York Post. It's so funny. Look, he's got a fucking iPad. The other guy's sitting in the background. Look, guy's walking around with a mask. The Gucci bishop's on the floor. He's going, all right. He's like handing all this shit over. Look at this. Look how funny. Then there's a guy that swings by. Look, he's got the mask on. He's putting shit in his pocket. Walks right out. How fucking funny is that?
I didn't see him steal anything. What did he steal?
Yeah, because it was a still. But you could see him. You didn't see him pick something up and put it in his pocket.
Yeah, I saw that, but I don't know. But it was
And look at the suit that this guy wears, bro. Look at this.
Yeah, you can tell he's one of those like fraudulent pastors. Looks like.
Look.
It looks like the Caesars guy. You ever see the Caesars sportsbook guy?
Yeah, you know who that is? That's JB Smoove. Baby Smooth. This is
Kind of looks
Caesar.
like him. No, but you gotta look at you gotta do it in the outfit. It's like an exact replica. That's the Gucci shoe.
Yo, look, yo. Yo. That's spot on. Yo, he's Caesar. Look. Yo, he's flexing on us, bro. Look at him. He's got the Gucci suit on, man. Look at him. That's mad funny. Yeah, yo, you're right. You're 100% right. Look. He's got the Gucci fit on. He's got the glasses. Come on. Who would give money to this guy? Look, he's got a fucking throne. What is that? He sits in that? Come on, son. Look at the suit though. He looks retarded. This is the Gucci Balenciaga fucking suit. Who would wear this? This looks horrible, right? Look, it's all over his legs and his arms. What the fuck? Looks stupid. But anyway, no, yeah, that was today's video. That was a good one. But yeah, I just thought that was funny because it's just like, why do these people do this? Like, why do they dress like this? Like, don't they realize that they just become targets and someone's going to see that and they're going to go, oh, this guy's got money. He's got some money at least. He's got enough money to buy that fucking suit,
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously making himself a target. You shouldn't walk around like with jewelry like that. I mean, he's going to be like one of those people in London. He's going to get his arm cut off eventually if he keeps doing stuff like that. Is that the guy, right? I've seen a couple of these like these TV channels. They do like these sermons on the TV. Does he run like one of those TV channels?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and I think that's why he's got the iPad is because he like does a live stream and he reacts to the comments when people donate and shit. I just looked up this suit, by the way. This suit's like $3,000. Like you could just get a like a Brioni suit, which will be a lot nicer. It's not as like obnoxious, and it's actually it's a nicer suit. It's a better quality suit. It's not it's not like ostentatious. It's just a normal. You got like a nice normal black or navy blue suit. You get to look like a big shot. And no one really knows what kind of suit it is unless you tell them. So you're not really a target, and it's very subtle, But these idiots, they want to buy the Gucci, Who fucking buys that shit? It's dumb. It's the dumbest shit ever.
Well, it's all to present an image. He's presenting an image so that he can collect more donations and then, take the money from the church. A lot of these religions, they're scams. Even Catholicism, we see the Pope reverse his stance on gay marriage and such, and he's starting to accept gay marriage. And a lot of these religions, they're just going based off of what's popular in the day, and they just go with what the majority of the people believe, so that they can collect donations and take money out of their pocket. And these religions, they don't stand for anything. They just constantly change their mind and they go with the flow. And they're all for collecting money, collecting donations, and they're not what they're made out to be. And this is a good point. This hyperbole of what this guy's wearing, Gucci suits, gold, and such. But it's not much different from other religions. This one is just more obvious, and it's not as well constructed.
Yeah, I just think he's a total fucking bozo. Like he's not even trying to hide that. He's like clearly embezzling the money from the church. Like the whole thing of that whole notion of like separation of church and state is just, it's valid, but that no one should be exempt from taxes. That's just the silliest thing ever, because people will just start religions as a tax shelter. They'll just pull an L. Ron Hubbard. Like Scientology was literally started because L. Ron Hubbard wanted to figure out a way to dodge taxes and invest money tax free. That's all. Excuse me. That's all that was. I have the hiccups now. But it's just ridiculous. I don't understand why people even do this to begin with, and it's just funny. So the moral of the story is, don't be like the Gucci preacher. You can make money, but you gotta boss up. And you can make money and you can do really well, but you don't want to be the guy that becomes a target. So you have to spread the word of God. You gotta listen to God, myself, and that's it, man. Thanks for tuning in. Peace out, everyone.
Yep. See you later. See you next week.
See you later, alligator.
In a while, crocodile.
Don't play with your pickle. Don't play with your balls. Play pickleball. If you know, you know.